Recording started.
Hey guys, this is the video for Unit 4 Homework 4. You need to make sure that you read and take notes on Section 3, Part 2, Arithmetic Sequences. You're watching this video right now, and then you're going to go and work on Homework 4. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, a little bit of vocabulary for you to start off with. A sequence. This is just a set of numbers in some sort of order, okay? And each number is called a term. So here is a sequence, here is a sequence, and here is a sequence. It's just a set of numbers, okay? And those numbers are put in a specific order. An arithmetic sequence, this is where the difference in each term is the same. Okay, and that constant difference, that difference that's constant, it's the same thing each time, that's known as the common difference. So think of difference means that you're going to be subtracting. So to find the common difference, you are going to subtract each term, and whatever number you get, if it's the same thing each time, that's an arithmetic sequence. So what we want to do with these examples is we want to determine if each one is an arithmetic sequence, and if it is, we want to find the next two terms that are in the sequence. And I see I left out a W in here, so we're just going to play like it's there. Okay, first we need to find the common difference in this sequence to see if it's an arithmetic sequence. If I'm finding the difference between -3 and -5, that's going to be a -2 numbers in there. And the difference between -5 and -7 is also a -2. So the reason why it's negative is because our numbers are going down each time. Our sequence isn't increasing. So is this an arithmetic sequence? Yes, it is. And since it's an arithmetic sequence, we need to find the next two terms. So our next one after -7, if I go down two terms, it's going to be a -9. And then down two more is going to be a -11. Okay, next example. Again, we want to subtract each of these numbers to see how many numbers are in between. Between 4 and 1, if I subtract that, I get 3. If I subtract a 1 and a -2, I get 3. And if I subtract -2 and -5, I'm also going to get 3. But what you notice here, again, our sequence is counting down. So I'm going down 3. So it's a -3 each time. So yes, it's an arithmetic sequence. I need to find the next two terms. So I'm going to go down 3 from the -5. I'm going to get -8. And then a -11. Last example on this page. First, again, you're going to find the common difference. The difference between 3 and 6 is 3. There are 3 numbers in between there. Between 6 and 12, that's 6 numbers. And between 12 and 24, that's 12 numbers. So see here, those are not constant. Our difference here is not constant. It's not the same thing each time. So it is not an arithmetic sequence. No arithmetic sequence here. All right, this problem wants us to find the fourth term in this sequence. For the fourth term, okay, that's going to be a number 4. So all that you're going to do is plug 4 in for your x. And this here should be t sub x, since I'm using the x's here. So I'm going to plug in 4 for all my x's. I'm going to have 4 squared plus 2 times 4 plus 5. Order of operations, I do exponents first. 4 squared gives me 16. Then I'm going to multiply. 2 times 4 is 8. And I have 16 plus 8 plus 5, which gives me 29. So if they had given me a sequence, like on the page before this would have been the 4th number that was listed. Okay, now we're going to go over finding the formula for a sequence. You have t sub n equals t sub 1 plus d, open parentheses, n minus 1, close parentheses. And you're probably thinking, oh, Mrs. Ochesky, that's a lot of letters and numbers and a lot of craziness. But I promise you, it's very simple. Just follow these instructions. First, our t sub 1, it's just the first term in the sequence, and our d is the common difference. So this sequence here, you can take that and write it into a table. My numbers in the sequence are in the y column. Okay, and that's the same thing as t sub n. That's what your t sub n means, is the y's. Then over here, where your x's would be, or in this case we're using n, you're just going to start counting with the number 1, and then 2, our 3rd term, and our 4th term. Okay? The way I got these terms is you're just going to think. Most people, whenever you start counting, you start with 1. You normally don't start with 0. So whenever you are numbering your terms in the sequence, you're going to start with 1. So they tell me that t sub 1 is the first term. So I'm going to write down t sub 1, and it's my first term, which is negative 1. And then they tell me that d is the common difference. So I need to find the common difference here. Between negative 1 and 3, there are 4 numbers. Between 3 and 7, there are 4 numbers. And between 7 and 11, there are 4 numbers. So my common difference is 4. Now, all you have to do is take these numbers and plug them into your original equation for finding your formula. So my formula is going to be t sub n equals my t sub 1, which we found to be negative 1, so I'm going to plug in a negative 1 there, plus my d, which was the common difference, we found to be 4. I'm going to put 4 in there. Open parentheses. That n is going to stay the same. That's like your x, and then minus 1. And there's my formula for this sequence. Our next example over here has fractions in it, but it's going to be all right, okay? Fractions are your friends. I'm going to, again, start with a table. I have 0, 1/2, 1, and 1.5. And then I'm going to number my terms. Remember, starting with 1, because that's the natural number you start counting with. You have your first term, your second term, your third term, and your fourth term. My t sub 1 is my first term, which in this case is 0. And I need to find my common difference. The difference between 0 and 1/2 is going to be 1/2. Between 1/2 and 1 is 1/2. And between 1 and 1.5, you guessed it, is 1/2. So our common difference in this sequence is 1/2. And since our numbers are increasing, it's positive. So now I'm just going to plug those back into my formula. I have t sub n equals my t sub 1, which is 0. So you don't have to plug that number in since it's 0. I'm going to go ahead and do it. I have 0 plus my d, which was my common difference, we found to be 1/2. Open parentheses, n minus 1. Okay, again, these are examples for finding the nth term of a sequence, or like what we just did, it's just finding the formula for the sequence. So I'm going to make my table. And I'm going to number them starting with 1. First, we found our t sub 1, which is our first term. That's -1. Now I need to find d, which was the common difference. There's 3 numbers in between here. 5 numbers in between here. And 5 here. It looks like we have another typo. It should be a -4. My bad, -3. So our t sub 1 is not a -1. It's -3. And our common difference is 5. I'm going to write this in my formula. T sub n equals my t sub 1, which is -3, plus my common difference, which was 5, open parentheses, n minus 1. Our last example on this page, again, start with a T-chart, start with your table, list your numbers, 3, 0, -3, and -6. This is my first term, my second term, my third term, my fourth term. My T sub 1 is 3. And I need to find my common difference. Between 3 and 0, that's 3 numbers. Between 0 and -3, 3 numbers. Between -3 and -6, 3 numbers. But hopefully you noticed these are decreasing, so my common difference is going to be negative. So my D is -3. I write my formula, T sub n equals my T sub 1, which was 3, plus my common difference, which was -3. So you don't have to have a plus there. You can do a minus. Times n minus 1. Okay, remember that you can come to TOGA each afternoon. Bring your questions. I would say if you had questions on this recording to go back, watch it again. And as you're watching it, write your questions in the margin of your paper. You can put questions and raise your hand in the LMS. Today we learned how to determine if a set is an arithmetic sequence. We learned how to find the formula and the nth term. Bye guys. Good luck on homework 4.